Welcome to Company Secrets, the Nutcracker Paradox. I'm your host, Jared Redick. This season, we are diving into the most enduring, profitable, and beloved ballet in the world, the Nutcracker. Every year, millions watch it. But how are today's choreographers and artistic leaders handling its complex history and its future? This is season 2. Let's get started. My guest today is Victoria Morgan, a former principal dancer with San Francisco Ballet and Ballet West, and artistic director of Cincinnati Ballet for 25 seasons. She not only helped transform the organization artistically, but also built a multi-million-dollar endowment and opened the stunning new 62,000 square foot Center for Dance, which I've had the distinct privilege of teaching in. During Victoria's tenure, she not only held the hat of artistic director, but also CEO, choreographer, and fundraiser. She now is honored as Artistic Director Emerita and continues to serve on numerous boards, including Dance USA and Dance Magazine. Welcome to the show, Victoria.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. And today we're here to talk all things Nutcracker. When you think of the Nutcracker, what's the first word that comes to mind?
Thank you for giving me a little heads up about some of the questions, because my gut feeling initially was excitement, first time, lights, camera, action. In the end, I ended up coming up with a teacher, because in the Nutcracker, you start as a child and you do roles that progress. I got to be Clara. You start as a little girl in the party scene, and then you go on to be Mother Buffoon under the skirt, and you end up going on to be a gingerbread person. And so there's this evolution, and I danced every female role possible, from major, like from Snow Queen to Sugar Plum to Rose in Lots of Flowers. And it's so educational in that, because nutcrackers are expensive to produce, so often it's the same nutcracker that gets repeated year after year. My own Nutcracker began in 2011, and we're still doing it. We just did it at the Kennedy Center. And so it helps you understand, in a way, you can remember, what did it feel like last year? How did it work? I feel that I have a higher jump. I feel like I can turn better, faster, more turns. I feel that I have more articulation. It's kind of a teacher with the evolution from the year to year to year. And I love that part of it.
It absolutely is kind of a rite of passage as well. As you move through the roles, you see that as from students going from the roles as you're mentioning, but you see professional dancers as they add these layers of complexity to the roles that they revisit year after year. So it is very educational, and it helps you develop as an artist.
Absolutely.
As one of the few women who has choreographed this iconic ballet, how did the female perspective influence your approach to the story in your production?
Well, I feel that I did things that felt kind of personal to me, and because of that, some of that was vulnerable and questionable. I introduced a little poodle. You know, we love our pooches. We love our dogs. They're a part of the family. You get so attached to them. And I had Clara really have this little companion with her throughout the entire production, right from the party scene and through the battle scene. And I don't think a guy would have done that. I don't know. But I felt really brave about taking that on. And for me personally, I felt like it really worked. And so that's just an example of one of the things that might be looked at, oh, that was a female choreographer.
Right.
But there are other things too. I mean, the whole Merlepoos too was, the French flautists, and my Merletons is Merlepoos, and they're all little pooches with all their little special port-de-bras and well-articulated, strange, but poodle acts that are just a part of it that makes it totally charming for young women and one hunky male poodle.
That's the fun of Nutcracker, right? We have this traditional story, but there is a lot of latitude creatively about what you can do with the diverts, or maybe how you portray the party scene, what that narrative looks like when you put it on the stage.
Right. That kind of freedom's really fun.
Act 1 or Act 2? If you could only keep one, which would you choose?
It is a hard question, but I would ask to be allowed to say if I was, under 10, it would be act one.
Hmm.
And if I was mature and dancing as second company dancer, I would say act two.
Yeah, that's a great answer because we know first act is narrative, second act is where most of the harder dancing occurs.
Yeah.
You're no stranger to this. We know that Nutcracker is usually the first point of contact to ballet and live performance to so many people, especially children. If it disappeared tomorrow, what do you think would happen to ballet?
Well, I think it would be devastating. In part, I say that because it's not only a way to educate children, young people about this art form and introduce them and have their first experience under those stage lights and, have that sense of the energy of the audience and how that fills your body with just this natural adrenaline. That's so much fun. Besides that, it is a financial stability for every company. I mean, we have more performances of the Nutcracker. I remember when we were thrilled when we got 1 million, and now I think it's up to 3 million, maybe more even by now. I've been gone for 3 years, but I just feel it's so interesting how, when it was first created in 1892, it actually initially was a flop. Ivanov created it. Pettipa was sort of the main choreographer, but he got sick and Ivanov had to finish it. And so it was something that didn't work initially, but just like so many things in life, the structure is there. That Tchaikovsky music is beautiful. The narrative is there. And there were multiple, like we just talked about, interpretations about how various sections could be more effective. And it's interesting to me, while it got its start in Russia, in the US, every ballet company, every ballet school, everyone does the Nutcracker.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Balanchine popularized it with his version. And
Right, exactly. And his is sort of the, golden version.
what is your first memory of the Nutcracker?
I mean, my first really vivid memory is kind of a funny one. I was Clara in the Nutcracker, and I'd done multiple rehearsals for it. And then we used to call them ballet masters, but nobody should be a master over somebody else, so now we call them rehearsal directors, came to me and said, I don't think that's going to work. You have braces on your teeth and we can't see your smile. And I was so devastated about it. And I cried and I wept, and my parents sort of wept with me. And my dad called my orthodontist and made arrangements for my braces to be taken off.
Oh, God.
So my first sort of real glory was just being on stage with a white smile. And the role of Clara is, of course, the most important role as a young person that you can get. And I felt so lucky and so blessed to be able to do that.
Think about the role of Clara in the most productions. It is a younger person. They could be anywhere from 10 to 16 years old. And you look at the entire ballet repertory, and who has a leading role like that at that age? When you're talking about these big ballet companies and the technical prowess of all those professional dancers.
That's right.
I think, my mom was my ballet teacher, and my older brother danced as well. And I remember being in Trepak, or the Russian dance. My mom, she choreographed it, and we did like a little pyramid of boys. So we had 6 boys, and my brother was on the bottom. And of course, he's got to bring down the entire pyramid during the performance. And I was so mad at him. One of my earliest memories.
I know, it's sort of life and death out there. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be amazing.
I was all of probably 6 or 7 years old, whatever, at the time. So
You started young with
Oh,
the
yeah.
experience.
I grew up in a ballet studio watching my mom teach. So that was
Yeah.
in my
It was
perspective.
beautiful.
At this point in your career, what is your relationship to the production?
So really, we've done it since 2011. So I just come in touch point. I mean, they stage it. And so the dancers basically know the choreography. But there's also always an evolution, even though it's been done since 2011, every year, in order to keep the dancers entertained and the audience as well. I would shift out certain sections. I would make different kinds of interpretations of roles. And it really has been an evolution. And so I think now I've been braver about being willing to, maybe be a little more humorous and I mean, the Mouse King is, a gay guy. It's really funny. It's a hanky. I enjoy it. I would hope that's not offensive to people. It's kind of funny. And so, yeah, I think that it's been a real pleasure to be able to see it rehearsed and not have to teach it, actually, the actual steps. But it's also been a pleasure to be able to go in and sort of fine tune some of the original ideas around it. Because now, from 2011, most of the rehearsal directors are different. And so it's nice to be able to get in there and have a voice in the process.
Right. And you're completely on the other side of things. You do not have a million things as being artistic director, choreographer, and producer at the same time. So now you can just look at the artistic elements of what you've done, the creative elements, and work with the dancers. So that's got to be a lot of fun for you.
Yeah. And I told the dancers, I said, it's so interesting to me because the further I get away from being artistic director, I'd sit in the audience, I'd be taking all these notes and I'd post all these notes, on the board. And now I just kind of let it roll over me. In some ways, I enjoy it more because I'm seeing it, I think, more vividly as an audience person versus as an artistic director, choreographer. And that has just made me fall in some ways more in love with this art form.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opening up and freedom and understanding, the value as you get into retirement. It's disorienting, but it's also, I feel so grateful that I have time to be more reflective and that I have time to let people, ideas sink in versus it's often just a bounce. There's so much going on. There's just one quick tab, tack, get in the meeting, get out the meeting, what needs to be done. I know that I don't have to tell you because it sounds like your mother was probably in that particular place of go, 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 go. So it's a beautiful thing to be here. This art form for me has gotten to be more beautiful in part because I carry the upper echelon part of the critique instead of all the nitty gritty.
I think that's a wonderful point you made about you have time now to be more reflective about what you're watching, right? Instead of having to be so critical of every last thing, because that is what we're trained to do. And that's how we kind of propel and move the art form forward. Now you can actually enjoy this amazing craft that we're all a part of.
Yeah, I feel that way.
I'm sure it's just must be so much fun now. Kind of wrapping up with our final question for today. What is the funniest or strangest note you've given to a collaborator on any production in any capacity?
Well, I mean, I have given a lot of strange notes, but I might say that interpret that as a strange note that was given to me.
Okay.
And that is my first performance in Willem Christensen's Nutcracker. The Waltz of the Flowers lead is a couple. And in the very first moment of the couple appearing, the couple's in the middle and all the petals are opening up. And the couple gets lifted. It's, one of those one-handed sit lifts. And as he was lifting me, my heel of my shoe came off my foot. But of course, with the ribbons, it doesn't come totally off. It was my first time doing it. I never even imagined that something like that could happen. And I had the heel was about where the arch is, and the shoe was also about 2 inches or so beyond the end of the toes. So I just danced like that, and it was my left foot. I couldn't do pirouettes.
Oh, no.
I just danced like that.
Oh, no.
In the whole first section. I couldn't believe that I didn't have this, wherewithal to bend down and just put the shoe back on my foot. But, you just want to do exactly what the choreography is. And so in retrospect, only in retrospect, did I find that hysterical. I mean, just to imagine, I can't imagine. I bet the people in the audience were like really feeling sorry for me, but also laughing about it. And I cried for, I don't know how long after that. But finally, in my tender age of being 74, I think it's the most hysterical thing that has happened to me on stage and maybe the most funny, peculiar thing that I've seen.
At the time, it was mortifying, and now it's such a humorous story, or it's a hilarious story to think about it at this point.
Yeah, just thinking about it, triggered that memory, and it makes me laugh when I think about it. I just think, again, that perspective from, being a few years older, a little more experienced, and just thinking about it and focusing on it. Honestly, I'm sitting on my sofa, I'm cracking up. And yet I was absolutely devastated, and
No doubt.
nothing like that ever happened again. I sew my point shoes heels onto my tights, and
We learn more from our failures or our mistakes than we do from our successes. So,
yeah, that's right.
well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was what a wonderful way to kind of finish off our interview for today. I'm so appreciative of your time, Victoria.
Pleasure for me. Thank you, Jared. So nice.
So much.
So nice to see you again.
You too as well. If you liked our conversation here today, you can follow Company Secrets Podcast on all platforms and on our website, companysecretspodcast.com. Thank you for listening, because the stage is only part of the story.